Hello. Sorry, I should have been reading this. Okay, I'm caught up. The let's see, diversification part I wanted to touch on. I remember Dan Cook talking about that at GDC this past year, and I wondered if diversification was actually going to make it hard to cross-sell things. I mean, I suppose if you're doing things in an app store setting, there's not much you can do in terms of cross-selling, but if you were selling things on your own website or something similar to that, you know, you could say, hey, if you like this game, you should play this game. And if you make games that are too diverse, supposedly to reduce risk, I think you lose out on opportunities for that. So there's the idea of the cliche of, you know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I've heard other people say, put everything in one basket and then watch that basket closely. So there's two different ways you can go about it, I guess. Internationalization, I think Anthony talked about the technical things and touched on the cultural aspects. And I think, yeah, older games which didn't have a lot of text, it was a lot easier to do internet, or you know, maybe that was the whole point, that they're making games without a lot of work, and it would just translate fine. Like Out of This World, I'm in America, so that's what it's called here. Another World is what it was called in Europe and elsewhere, I think. That game had no text except for maybe something in the beginning, which really wasn't necessarily part of the game. And you know, there was a lot of mumbling and things like that, but otherwise, people could play it, and I think if you know, people have that game somewhere close in their heart when they, you know, it's like one of the games they really liked. Whereas I'm sure older, you know, other games around that time that might have been really great, you might have had to do a lot more text work, and because there was the cultural differences and they couldn't just translate puns that worked in English into German or Spanish or something like that, they had to go in a completely different direction. And so it's kind of funny if you think about it today, where the world is much closer because we have the internet, and imagine trying to talk to somebody who's played the same game as you have, but in German, and you can't talk about the same game because you're talking about, like, remember that part about the, you know, fighting like a cow, and they're like, well, what? That wasn't in my game. We had something about fighting like a pretzel or something. I don't know. So interesting things to think about, but you know, thanks Anthony for all the details. I do remember when I was looking at the folder for colonization and coming across files that had just a list of strings that I remember seeing while I was playing the game, and I'm like, what was the point of that? Why did they make this file? And at the time I had no idea that this was why it was the case. I've worked at companies where they've had internationalized files, and yeah, putting all the strings into the English file and having it translated, and then all the hassle of making sure all the strings were visible on the screen. I mean, I don't know how many bugs have come back from QA because something didn't quite fit, and then we had to change everything in the game to make sure that this one Portuguese piece of text could fit on the screen. And then art. I actually want to take you through some of the stuff I did in high school. I mentioned a painting, you might have seen it before. And in high school, I worked on a lot of drawings. I'm not sure if the color's coming out well in this video, but you can see that this section over here, I have a black and white and a color used with color pencil. I have this cool gorilla, which I was pretty proud of. I've been told it looks like Harry and the Hendersons. John Lennon of the Beatles, I think I got that off of some album art. This woman came out of a magazine my mom had, and someone told me, like, if you look just right, it looks like Madonna. Really unintentional. And then I was really into castles. I didn't really have much castle references, so I just kind of made up things myself. But this is a battle. You know, I guess that's a massive castle compared to the people, and I don't know, there's all sorts of interesting things here. I was really, I don't know, I drew a lot when I was younger, and the, I don't know, I stopped doing it after a while, which is really bad. So I'm out of practice. If you want to hire an artist, don't hire me. But I can doodle, and I've done that for a few Ludum Dada games. And otherwise, I've hired an artist for a game that I've released on Facebook. I was really pleased with how that came out. Things looked way better than what I would have done myself. And for my current project, there's actually a lot more art needed than I've ever had to work on before. And, you know, I'll just open up the GIMP, and Ludum Dada has taught me that if I want to get something done quick, stop trying to fiddle with the art. So I will just put together quick shapes, maybe something that looks similar to what I hope it would look like, because I would figure I'll just replace that with professional art later. And I will say that I put one video up of my game as a work in progress, and I actually got some feedback saying the game looked cool, and I'm like, really? I think it looks kind of horrible right now. So Anthony, when you said you can't put up screenshots of a game until you have good art, that's not true, and I think some people will really love you for giving you behind the scenes footage. Obviously you can't say, hey, this is the game. I think with Blizzard, I had just read this a week or so ago. By the way, I've been gone for the last week. I think you might see I have a tan. I've been swimming. Yesterday was my birthday, so happy birthday to me. And anyways, Blizzard's thing with StarCraft is they came out with it with the Warcraft 2 engine, and they demoed it alongside Diablo. And people were in love with Diablo, but they saw StarCraft, and yes, they said it was just Warcraft in space. They actually went back to the drawing board. It wasn't like, no, this is just temp art. It's, oh, we're actually doing this badly. We need to start over on a lot of this. At least that's what I remember reading. So art. I would, I don't know, I'm trying to put together things quickly as I can with my skills, and, you know, my current skills are actually atrophied because I haven't done as much art as I used to when I was a kid. But I'd love to hire an artist, and I think Andy makes a good point about getting someone who's passionate, because otherwise it's just a job for someone. It is hard to find somebody who is willing to put forth good effort and on time and can create quality results, but I suppose artists have the same feeling about programmers too. There's a lot of artists who want to make games, but they don't have the programming skills, and I'm sure they have the same issues. I think a lot of us who are in this conversation are programmers, and I wonder if we can't get any more artist types who are full-time indies to participate.